Hello and welcome to Music is Medicine. My name is Matt Creedon. Today I want to explore a simple idea, the idea that music can act as medicine. I remember when I was a young boy watching a Beatles documentary with my family. Something about their songs completely overwhelmed my senses. I didn't have a language for it at the time. I just knew that whatever they were doing, I loved it. And it wasn't until many years later, when I began writing my own songs, that I started to understand what might have been happening. And strangely enough, the insight came from something completely different, and that was transcendental meditation. When I was around about 18 years old, I learned transcendental meditation. The practice is actually very simple. You're given a mantra, and you repeat that mantra quietly in your mind for about 20 plus minutes or so. And as you sit there repeating the mantra, something interesting begins to happen. Your body relaxes. Your nervous system begins to feel safe. And when the nervous system feels safe, things that were buried begin to rise to the surface. Sometimes those buried things appear as thoughts. Sometimes they appear as memories, and sometimes they appear as emotions. But because you're relaxed, you're able to observe them rather than fight them. Instead of arguing with the past, you simply notice it. And often in that relaxed state, the old story loses its grip. You can see it from a new perspective. You realize you're no longer threatened by it. And suddenly, it becomes much easier to let go. We actually do something similar naturally when we're in pain. Sometimes we groan, sometimes we cry, and sometimes we sigh deeply. And these are all natural ways the body releases emotional energy. And years later, when I began writing songs, I realized something very similar was happening when I was writing the melodies. Now, the pinnacle of melody writing is creating a melody that is not only emotional, but also memorable. And memory has a strange relationship with emotion. The more emotional something is, the easier it is to remember. So, I would often find that the most captivating melodies, the ones that people might call catchy, would appear when I felt safe enough to release something emotional. I would go into my bedroom, close the door, sit comfortably with my guitar and start writing songs. Sometimes I would sit there for about, 2 or 3 hours, drumming, singing, drifting in and out of a kind of trance-like state, allowing the emotions to rise to the surface, listening carefully to what was bubbling up inside of me. Now, at the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just thought I was writing songs and dreaming about being successful. But in reality, something deeper was happening. I was patiently turning the emotional soil, a little bit like a bullock slowly ploughing a field, searching for melodies or potato melodies. And eventually, as my nervous system relaxed, a melody would begin to appear, much like a potato coming out of the ground. It would wiggle its way up to the surface, almost like sonic medicine. The melody would encapsulate a buried emotion, but in the form that felt safe and playful. Instead of being overwhelmed by the feeling, I could explore it, sing it, shape it, play with it, and instead of sounding like a groan of pain, it would transform into something melodic, something light. Sometimes these melodies carried a lot of energy, and after singing them, I would actually feel invigorated or blissfully chilled out. But the real magic happened when I started sharing those songs with other people. Suddenly, I realized that when an emotion is crystallized into a melody, other people can experience that emotion too, through listening or through singing along. And when you add words to a melody, something else happens. The melody supports the story. And sometimes it supports the story in a way that words alone cannot. Have you ever noticed this? Sometimes you try to explain something emotional to someone and you tell them a story about something difficult that happened, but the words fall flat. The energy behind the experience just isn't there anymore, and the other person might look a little bored or change the subject. But when the same words are placed inside a melody, something changes. Suddenly, there is another dimension of emotional energy. The melody carries the feeling. Now, not all melodies are equal. Some melodies are incredibly memorable. You might find yourself whistling them as you walk down the street, and some melodies become instantly recognizable, while others are more forgettable, and there's nothing wrong with that. But melodies that stay with us often carry more emotional weight. You might say they are simply stronger medicine. So the next time you find yourself deeply connecting with a song, it might be doing more than just entertaining you. It might be nourishing something inside you, helping you to process an emotion, helping you to release something, helping you to remember something important. Music might not just be entertainment, it might actually be medicine. And perhaps that's why melodies have been traveling through human culture for thousands of years. Because somewhere deep inside us, we recognize its healing power.